The Galactic Council chamber had never been so loud, so chaotic, so suffocating with fear. The Grand Hall, usually a calm place of diplomacy and arrogance, was now boiling with panic as representatives from 50 different alien species crowded the curved seats, their voices shaking, their tendrils twitching, their scales shivering, their wings pulled tight against their bodies. A strange signal had been detected at the far edge of the galaxy, past the dead regions where no ships traveled, past the forgotten coordinates everyone avoided. The signal was short, sharp, and unmistakably human. And that single fact, that impossible truth, cracked open the Council's spine. Humans were gone. Humans had left the galaxy more than a century ago. Their worlds were silent, dark, abandoned. Their stations drifted empty. Their colonies vanished in dust. Every empire insisted humanity simply gave up and disappeared. But the Council knew better. They knew why humanity vanished. They knew what they did. They buried the truth under lies, under fear, under secret missions that never reached the public. And now the signal was back, and every alien in the room knew exactly what that meant. The hall smelled of ozone and fear as the Council leader, a tall insectoid creature with thin glowing wings, slammed his staff into the floor, demanding silence. "Order!" he screamed, but his voice shook. "We must remain calm." No one listened. Representatives shouted over each other, wings fluttering, claws scraping the table, tentacles writhing in panic. "It cannot be humans," a scaled ambassador shouted. "They are extinct." "Then explain the signal," a feathered delegate screeched. "It matches their ancient distress codes." "A trick," another snarled. "Humans cannot return." "What if they have?" someone whispered, trembling. "What if they never left at all?" Silence returned like a knife through flesh. Dozens of eyes turned toward the oldest council member, a wrinkled creature with sunken dark eyes and trembling hands. Everyone knew what he meant. If humans were alive, then the council's greatest secret, the betrayal they hid, would finally surface. The council leader's wings flickered, betraying fear. "We must not jump to conclusions," he said, his voice too soft, too nervous. "Perhaps it is a remnant signal. A glitch. Old code drifting through space." The door to the Grand Hall slammed open so hard the stone walls shook. Every voice died instantly. A chill ran through the room so fast it felt like the temperature dropped 10 degrees in seconds. And then he walked in. A human. A real, living, breathing human. Alone. Calm. No guards. No fear. No insignia. No armor. Just simple dark clothing that looked almost ceremonial. His boots echoed like thunder as he walked across the hall floor, each step controlled, each movement heavy with purpose. He didn't look left or right. He didn't acknowledge any species. He walked like someone who knew exactly where he was going and exactly why everyone should fear him. The council leader's wings folded tightly against his back. "How did you enter this chamber?" he demanded, but his voice cracked, making the question sound weak. The human did not answer. He reached the center table, a massive stone circle carved from ancient meteor rock, and placed a small device on top. A single light blinked on the device. A countdown began. Red numbers glowing, 12 hours. The council stared at the numbers, confused, terrified, uncertain. The human finally lifted his head. His eyes were dark, steady, sharp enough to cut through the entire room. His voice was low but carried across the hall as if the walls bent to his will. "Humans know what you've done," he said. "You have 12 hours to evacuate your worlds." The entire chamber froze. For one full second, not a single creature breathed. Then chaos erupted like a storm breaking through glass. Representatives screamed. Some fainted. Others demanded explanations. Soldiers rushed into the hall only to stop in their tracks when the human looked at them. His presence, his calm, his unshakable stillness, it terrified them more than any weapon. The council leader slammed his staff. "Stop! Everyone stop!" But no one stopped. Panic raced like fire. "He's lying," one alien screeched. "Humans cannot threaten us. They are too few." "What did he mean? You know what you've done?" another shouted. What did we do to humans? What is he talking about? The council leader's wings twitched violently, betraying pure terror. We will not discuss that here. The human looked up slowly, and something in the movement made the entire hall fall silent again. It was not power. It was not violence. It was something far more dangerous. Certainty. 50 years ago, he said quietly, you sent fleets to destroy our colonies. You erased them. You blamed pirates. You buried the truth. You murdered 20 billion humans and pretended it never happened. A cold silence crushed the room. The old council member trembled, almost collapsing in his seat. How do you know this? He whispered. The human's expression didn't change. We watched you. The room erupted again, but the human raised a hand, just one simple gesture, and the noise died instantly, as if the room itself obeyed him. Humans asked for peace, he continued. You offered treaties, while sending assassins. Some aliens shook with shame. Others shook with anger. But all of them were afraid. You tried to erase the human race before it could grow stronger, the human said. You failed. The council leader tried to stand tall, tried to project authority, but his voice shook like a dying fire. You have no proof of these accusations. The human reached into his coat, pulled out a small holo device, and activated it. Horrifying images filled the air. Council warships firing on human colonies, cities burning, civilian ships destroyed, children crying, entire planets turned to ash. The council leader collapsed back into his seat, wings limp. How do you have this footage? The human's eyes hardened. Because we recorded it ourselves. The room broke into nervous chatter again. The council leader tried to regain control, but his voice was buried under panic. Humans cannot return, an ambassador shouted. They are gone. If humans are alive, said another, then what have they become? The human looked at the countdown again. 11 hours 52 minutes and 17 seconds. Leave your worlds, he said. Leave your cities. Leave your stations. Or what? A warrior species growled. The human met his eyes. Or you will not survive what comes next. Are you threatening war? Another alien demanded. No, the human said. This is not war. His voice lowered, darkened. This is consequence. The council leader slammed his staff one last time, desperate for control. Explain yourself, human. If you are not here to declare war, then why demand evacuation? The human stepped closer, shadows sliding across his face like shifting blades. We are not coming to conquer you. We are not coming to punish you. We are not coming to destroy your planets. He leaned forward slightly. But something else is. The room stilled again. Every alien stared at him, horrified. Something else, the council leader whispered. What do you mean? The human didn't blink. We made a mistake. A big one. The aliens exchanged terrified glances. What mistake? Someone asked. What did you humans do? The human breathed in slowly. We survived your attack by hiding in the dark regions of space. While we rebuilt, we found something. Something buried there. Something that should never have been awakened. He paused. But we woke it. The council chamber went silent as death. Every alien leaned forward, afraid to breathe. What did you wake? The council leader asked in a trembling voice. The human looked around the room, eyes cold as stars. A star-eater. Several creatures gasped. Others looked confused. But a few older species, those who remembered ancient myths, went pale instantly. Impossible, one whispered. Those are extinct. No, the human said. It has been sleeping, growing, listening. He paused. And now it's coming. Shockwaves of terror rolled through the room. If it is coming, one ambassador cried, then why warn us? Why help us? Because humans don't wipe out innocent species, the envoy said. We gave you one final gift, time. The council leader looked at the countdown, panic spreading through his eyes. 12 hours. Until what? The human stepped away from the table. The countdown glowed red. 11 hours 49 minutes and 2 seconds, until it reaches your nearest star. The entire hall shook as if the building itself felt fear. The human walked toward the exit. "Evacuate your worlds," he said again. "If you stay, you die." "What about you humans?" someone shouted desperately. "Won't it come for you too?" The human stopped at the door. He looked back only once. His eyes were colder than the void. "It already has." The hall fell silent. The door closed behind him, and the countdown kept ticking. The council finally understood. The betrayal they hid for 50 years was nothing compared to the catastrophe they had awakened. The council chamber shook long after the human envoy left, as if the very walls were trembling with the weight of the truth he dropped on them, and every alien in the room felt their hearts pounding with a fear that tasted older than their empires, older than their wars, older than the lies they told themselves for 50 long years. The device still sat on the table, its red numbers blinking with cruel calmness, counting down the hours until the unknown horror reached them, and the council members stared at it like it was a living thing breathing in front of them, a reminder that no amount of denial could erase what they had done. The council leader tried to stand, but his legs trembled, his wings refused to lift, and for the first time in his long political life, he felt powerless, small, exposed, because a single human, one unarmed envoy, had walked into their sacred chamber and shattered their confidence, their superiority, their illusion of safety with just one sentence. Representatives rushed to the center table, voices shaking, some crying, some demanding answers, some screaming that the humans were lying. But the old council member, the one who had been there when the secret attack was authorized, stood slowly, his eyes haunted and full of guilt that could no longer hide behind political masks. "We did this," he whispered, his voice cracking under the weight of memory. "We brought this on ourselves." Every alien turned to him with confusion, anger, desperation, begging silently to hear a lie, any lie, that would make this nightmare less real. But he didn't lie. His trembling hands clutched the table as he finally spoke the words the council had buried so deeply they almost forgot them. "The human envoy is not lying. We did send the fleets." Shocked gasps filled the hall. Some representatives recoiled in horror. Others shouted curses. Some demanded to know why they would betray humans who never attacked them, never invaded, never broke any treaty. The old council member closed his eyes. "Because we were afraid." A low murmur rippled through the chamber, but he continued, his voice hollow. "Humans grew too fast, too clever, too unpredictable. Their technology advanced in ways we could not understand. And their expansion, it frightened us. We believed they would overthrow the council one day." He lifted his trembling hands. "So we struck first." The council leader's wings flattened, shame burning through his body. He remembered that day, 50 years ago, when they ordered the secret fleets to wipe out human colonies. They sent their best soldiers. They erased entire planets. And when the last human distress signals vanished, the council celebrated. They thought the problem was solved. But today proved they had only created something far worse. Panic spread across the chamber as the truth settled into every mind like poison. A four-armed ambassador slammed a fist into the table, crying out, "Humans survived. They survived our attack and hid from us." Another creature, with glowing purple scales, hissed, "They watched us for 50 years. They watched and waited." A trembling aquatic ambassador whispered, "If humans didn't kill us when they returned, then what is coming that even they fear?" The countdown device beeped softly. 11 hours 38 minutes and 42 seconds. The slow drip of time felt like a blade pressing deeper. In the middle of the chaos, the council leader forced himself to stand, even though his legs felt made of sand. "We must send scouts. We must confirm if this Star Eater truly exists." But even he didn't sound convinced. A warrior species slammed his armored tail into the ground. "And if it does exist? What then? What will we do when it comes?" The council leader swallowed hard. "We follow the humans' warning. We evacuate." The hall erupted. "Evacuate?" a dozen voices cried. "Abandon our worlds. Leave our homes. Abandon everything because a human told us to." The council leader raised his voice. If humans wanted revenge, they would have destroyed us and not offered a warning. That single sentence silenced the room again. If humans wanted destruction, these worlds would already be ash. Instead they offered time, time to run, time to survive. Only one species would do that. Humans. A small reptilian ambassador spoke shakily. But why help us after we tried to erase them? And the old council member whispered the truth. Because that is who humans are. They are dangerous, yes, but only to those who threaten them. To others, they are protectors. The room grew still as the memory of human kindness before the betrayal faded into the silence. The screens in the chamber flickered as new images came in. Ships going offline, stars dimming unnaturally, distant outposts sending final messages before disappearing without explanation. It was happening already. The danger was real. The council leader turned to the holomap showing the galaxy. A growing region of darkness was spreading from the far edge, swallowing star systems one by one like a slow-moving storm. And it was moving toward them. Toward the council worlds. Toward the core. A tall armored delegate trembled. What if the humans didn't unleash it? What if they awakened it because of what we did? The old council member closed his eyes, his voice heavy with regret. Monsters like that wake when balance is broken. When great wrongs are committed. When an entire species suffers. His voice grew quiet. Humans didn't bring this creature. We did. The council leader finally cracked, his wings twitching violently. Enough. We must prepare evacuation fleets. Move civilians first. Then military. A warrior species shouted. And where do we go? Where do we flee? The old council member stared at the holomap. To human space, he whispered. That suggestion was met with immediate panic. To humans. To those we betrayed. They will kill us. But the old member shook his head. Not if they wanted us alive. They warned us. That means they still value life. And deep inside the truth settled like a weight pressing against their bones. Humans were not enemies. Humans were not the threat. The threat was whatever was coming behind them. The council leader called his aides. Send messages to all worlds. Begin evacuation. But before he could finish, the chamber lights flickered violently. The screens went dark. The air went cold. And then a single new signal appeared on the central holoscreen. It was human. It was strong. And it was live. The room went silent as the video feed opened. A human warship appeared. Silent, black, massive, more advanced than anything the council had seen before. A calm human commander stood in front of the camera. His eyes were dark, tired, but strong. To the Galactic Council, he said, this is your second warning. Evacuate your worlds now. The room held its breath. His voice dropped, filled with a quiet sadness. We already tried to stop the Star Eater. We failed. His voice cracked, just once. Now we can only save who runs fast enough. The screen flickered. The signal ended. The chamber fell into a silence so deep it felt like death. And the countdown kept ticking. 11 hours 27 minutes and 4 seconds, the council finally understood. The betrayal they hid was nothing compared to what was coming. The galaxy's greatest fear was not that humans returned. The galaxy's greatest fear was that humans were telling the truth. The council chamber was still shaking when the human transmission faded from the screen, leaving behind only the red blinking numbers of the countdown device and a silence so heavy it felt like the whole galaxy was holding its breath. Every alien in the room stared at the empty holo display, their eyes wide, their bodies stiff, their minds stuck in the same cold thought. If humans, the most stubborn survivors in history, admitted they failed to stop something, then that something must be beyond nightmare. Fear crawled across the chamber like a living creature, slipping into bones, twisting hearts, tightening throats. The council leader tried to steady his wings, but they twitched with panic, refusing to settle. He felt the weight of every accusation, every secret operation, every hidden order pressing onto his back as if the galaxy itself was finally demanding he pay for his choices. When he tried to speak, his voice came out thin and broken. We need more information. We cannot make decisions without knowing what exactly is coming. No one answered. No one argued. No one even blinked. They were too afraid of what the answer might be. The quiet was broken only when a young council aide stumbled into the room, panting, his skin pale, his antennae shaking violently. "Council leader, you need to see this." He projected a new screen into the air. A shaky recording appeared, an outpost at the far border of the galaxy where the human signal first appeared. The video showed confused aliens looking up at a star that should have been shining bright. But the star was dimming, shrinking, like its light was being drained. The outpost soldiers shouted orders, trying to scan the anomaly. The scanners glitched. The lights flickered. Then something huge moved across the camera, a black silhouette the size of a moon, sliding in front of the star as if tasting it, touching it. Then the recording went dark. The entire chamber felt the temperature drop. The council leader's throat closed. That thing consumed the star. The aide nodded helplessly. And it's moving. Fast. It already swallowed 2 more small suns on its way here. Panic rose like a wave about to break. A representative screamed, "We are doomed." Another shouted, "Humans brought this monster." But a quiet, trembling voice rose above the chaos. The old council member stepped forward again, shoulders slumped, guilt weighing his entire body down. "Humans didn't bring it," he whispered. "It woke because of us." Everyone stared at him, dread tightening their throats. He continued, each word cutting deeper. "When we attacked their colonies 50 years ago, we destroyed stabilizers, systems humans built to keep something imprisoned in deep space." He swallowed painfully. "We broke the chains, and the humans could not repair them in time." The council leader stared in disbelief. "Why wasn't this brought to my attention?" The old member almost laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "Because it was easier to lie. Easier to pretend we destroyed them completely. Easier to believe humans vanished and our sins vanished with them." A ripple of sick realization moved through the chamber. The council had not only attempted genocide, they also released something that humans spent generations containing. They didn't just betray humanity, they betrayed the galaxy. The countdown blinked again. 11 hours 12 minutes and 40 seconds. Every second felt like a hammer hitting their lungs. A feathered ambassador finally spoke, her voice shaking. "The human envoy, he didn't threaten us. He didn't demand payment. He didn't demand justice." Her feathers drooped with shame. "He told us to run." A scaled warrior slammed his claws into the floor. "We cannot run from something that eats stars." "We don't have a choice," a soft aquatic voice whispered. "We must flee." "Where?" another cried. "To the humans." The council leader rubbed his trembling hands together. "We have no allies left. And they warned us twice. That means they want us alive." But fear still pushed against the room. Aliens who once felt powerful now looked small, lost, exposed. Then the holoscreen flickered again. Another human message. This time, it wasn't from a single ship. It was from dozens. Rows of sleek black human vessels appeared in formation, silent as shadows, engines glowing dim blue like cold fire. A human woman appeared on the screen, calm, strong, eyes full of sorrow and fury. "To all council species," she said, voice steady. "We are activating evacuation routes. Use them immediately." Shocked gasps broke out. Humans were helping them evacuate? "Why?" she continued, her voice gaining weight. "We have tried to stop the Star Eater for 50 years. Every attempt failed. Our fleets were torn apart. Our planets burned. Our people died holding the line." Her eyes darkened. "We warned you before. You ignored us. We warn you now because civilians should not suffer for their leaders' mistakes." The council leader felt a deep shame he had never felt before. Humans, whose people they slaughtered, were now helping save their worlds. A warrior alien growled bitterly, "Why would humans help us? Why save those who betrayed them?" The human woman seemed almost to hear his thought. "Because we are human," she said softly. "We protect life. even when it does not protect us. The chamber fell breathless again. She continued, "This message is your third and final warning. Once the creature reaches your sector, there will be no escape." The screen switched to another view, an extremely bright image of a star collapsing in seconds as a massive shadow moved across it, feeding on its core like a predator drinking the life from a planet. The destruction was so fast the council screamed, This can't be real. It consumes entire suns. How do we stop it?" But the human voice returned, calm but filled with grief. "You don't." The screen flickered off again. No ships, no faces, just silence. Pure, terrifying silence. The council waited for a message that didn't return. The council leader sat down slowly, feeling older than he ever had in his life. "So this is it," he whispered. "The end of everything." But the youngest ambassador, small, trembling, barely old enough to serve, spoke bravely. "No, it is not the end. It is the chance humans gave us." Every eye turned to her. If humanity wanted revenge, they would have let the Star Eater kill us without warning. But they didn't. They told us to escape. Her voice shook but didn't break. "So we must listen." The council leader inhaled deeply, wings lifting again, no longer in fear but in fragile determination. "Prepare all ships. Begin evacuation. Follow the human routes." And finally, the chamber moved. Not with chaos, but with purpose. For the first time in 50 years, they followed humanity, not out of fear, but out of trust. But deep inside the chamber, one truth remained unspoken, heavy like a buried stone waiting to rise. If humans were trying to save the galaxy, then what were humans preparing to do against the creature they couldn't defeat? And why did their warnings sound less like fear, and more like a goodbye? The entire council station shook as if the galaxy itself was waking from a nightmare. Alarms screaming through every corridor, screens flickering, diplomats running in every direction, their fear mixing with the cold metallic scent of failure. But amidst all that panic, the council leader stood frozen before the giant holomap that now showed the spreading darkness at the edge of the galaxy, a moving shadow that swallowed stars one by one with the slow patience of a creature that knew nothing could escape from it. He stared at the map as if staring long enough would make the shadow disappear. But the darkness only grew larger, pulsing like a heartbeat, moving closer to the council's central worlds with each passing second. The evacuation commands echoed across the station, but no one felt safe even while following them because deep inside their hearts every species realized the same truth. There was nowhere in this galaxy far enough to run from something that could drink suns dry. The council generals crashed into the command room, their armor cracked, weapons buzzing, eyes wide with disbelief as they stared at the holomap, at the feeding pattern of the creature, at the trail of dead stars it left behind like bones on an ancient battlefield. One of them whispered with trembling lips, "This thing, it doesn't just move. It hunts." The council leader felt a chill crawl down his spine, cold and sharp. "And humanity warned us," he whispered. "They warned us 3 times." The old council member, the one who carried the guilt of the betrayal, stepped closer to the map, his fingers shaking as they hovered over the expanding dark zone. "It's accelerating," he whispered. "Each star it consumes, it grows faster." A young aide burst into the room, gasping for breath. "We've just lost contact with 3 more systems. They didn't even send distress calls. Just silence." The word silence rippled through the room like a blade. Silence meant the creature didn't just kill. It erased. The room trembled again as a shockwave passed the station. Every alien turned toward the nearest window, hearts racing, claws tightening, breaths held. Then they saw it. A human warship. No, not 1, 3, then 5, then 20. Silent black ships appearing around the station like ghosts rising from the void. The council leader's throat tightened. "They're surrounding us," a warrior ambassador growled. "Are they here to threaten us?" The old council member shook his head slowly, eyes filled with a sadness deeper than fear. "No, they're here to help." The screens blinked and a live transmission opened. A human appeared, tall, pale, dressed in a dark uniform that looked more ceremonial than military. His eyes held exhaustion, grief, and something even deeper, acceptance. Council species, he began, voice calm despite the chaos behind him on his ship. This is your final hour to evacuate. We are opening safe corridors for your fleets. His words echoed like a cold wind through the chamber. The council leader tried to stand firmer. Why are you doing this? He asked. Why help us after what we did? The human blinked once. Because we don't want another extinction. Not yours, not anyone's. The room fell still. A feathered diplomat with trembling wings asked quietly, "You said you tried to stop the creature before. Why did you fail?" The human inhaled deeply, leaning forward, the shadows on his face growing deeper. "Because we didn't understand it," he said softly. "At first we thought it was a weapon. Then we thought it was a creature. But it's neither. It is an ancient force, older than our empires, older than your council, older than recorded history. It sleeps until something disturbs the balance of the galaxy." The old council member closed his eyes. "And our attack on the human colonies disturbed that balance." The human nodded slowly. "When you attacked us, we activated emergency stabilizers. They were meant to hold the creature dormant. But we were dying. Our systems were failing. When we lost too many colonies, the stabilizers failed. And the Star Eater woke." One diplomat cried out in despair. "So it's our fault." The human lowered his eyes. "No. It's all of ours. The galaxy let fear guide it. We all created this." The council leader steadied himself. "Then how do we stop it?" The human finally looked up, really looked at them, with eyes full of storms. "We can't." A thick silence spread through the room, choking the air. "Then are we running forever?" a trembling voice asked. "No," the envoy replied quietly. "We're buying time." "For what?" someone demanded. The human hesitated. "For what humans are about to do." A deep dread rolled through the room. The human continued, voice low. "We have a final plan. A desperate one. It may kill us all. But it might slow the creature long enough for your species to escape the core worlds." The old council member whispered, "You're going to sacrifice yourselves." The human didn't deny it. "We will not let the galaxy fall." The council leader shook his head, wings trembling. "Humans alone cannot stop it." The human nodded. "We know." A cold realization passed across every alien face. Humans weren't asking for help. They weren't asking for forgiveness. They weren't asking for anything at all. They had already accepted their fate. And the council felt a guilt so deep it made their bones ache. Suddenly the chamber lights flickered again. New alarms blared. The aide screamed, "Another star just collapsed. The creature has doubled its speed." The human envoy spoke quickly, urgency sharpening his words. "Open your evacuation gates now. Do not delay. Every moment brings it closer." The council leader turned to his staff. "Activate the hyperspace lanes. Redirect civilian fleets." But before the staff could move, the holomap glitched violently. The darkness on the edge of the galaxy pulsed, then jumped, suddenly appearing closer, much closer than expected. One diplomat screamed, "It's here early." Another cried, "It changed course." The council leader looked at the human envoy with wide, terrified eyes. "It's coming straight toward us." The human nodded once. "It has sensed life. And fear. It can smell both across light years." The entire station trembled again. Then again. Louder. Stronger. The lights above them flickered violently as if something massive had entered the region of space nearby. Every alien froze. Every heart in the room paused. And the human envoy spoke one last time. "Evacuate now. The creature moves faster when it's hungry." "What about you?" the council leader asked softly. The envoy's voice held a quiet, heartbreaking truth. "We'll hold it off as long as we can." The screen blinked off. The human ships shifted into battle formation. And the council chamber erupted into movement, not chaos, but desperate survival. As evacuation fleets launched from the station, the darkness at the edge of the holomap rippled, opening like a monstrous eye. And inside that growing void, something enormous turned its gaze toward them. The old council member whispered one final sentence as the galaxy's nightmare drew closer. Humans weren't warning us to save themselves. His voice cracked. They were warning us so we could live long enough to remember them. The evacuation alarms echoed through every corridor of the council station as ships detached from their docking arms like frightened birds fleeing a forest fire, engines burning bright as thousands of vessels tried to escape toward the safe routes humans opened for them. But even as the fleets launched one after another, every alien who looked out the station windows felt their hearts freeze because the darkness at the edge of space was no longer far or distant. It was close now, close enough to see the stars behind it bending unnaturally, close enough to feel the pressure in the air like a storm rolling through the void. The council leader watched the holomap update every second, his wings tight against his back, his hands shaking so badly he had to grip the edge of the table just to stay upright. And each time the map refreshed, the dark zone expanded faster, spreading like spilled ink across the cosmic canvas, swallowing more star systems with a hunger that felt alive. The human warships floating outside the station began forming a defensive line, not to protect themselves, but to shield the council fleets as they evacuated, and seeing humans, once blamed, hunted, and nearly exterminated, now standing as shields to protect the species who betrayed them carved a deep ache into the hearts of everyone watching. The old council member could barely lift his eyes to the screen, guilt collapsing his shoulders as he whispered, "They should have left us. They should have let us die for what we did." The council leader turned to him, voice trembling, "But they didn't." He swallowed hard. "And that is why they are human." Suddenly the holoscreen flickered again as a new transmission forced itself through the station's systems. It wasn't the human envoy. It wasn't a council fleet. It wasn't a distress call. It was the creature. The entire screen went black, then filled with static, then the static parted like a curtain revealing a shifting mass. An enormous void-like shape moving through space without wings, without limbs, without any form a living mind could comprehend. It was as if darkness itself had grown a will, a purpose, a hunger. Tendrils of shadow spiraled around it, reaching across starlight like hands searching for warmth to devour. The closest star next to it flickered, then dimmed, then died. Just like that. No explosion, no fading, no sound, just swallowed. Silence crushed the room. One ambassador fell to his knees, sobbing. Another whispered prayers. Another muttered in a trembling voice, "This is not a creature. This is a force of nature." The holoscreen zoomed out, showing how fast it moved. Faster than any ship. Faster than any weapon. Faster than anything the council had ever recorded. "It should not move that fast," one general whispered, voice hollow. "Nothing massive should move that fast." The old council member pressed a shaking hand against the table. "It's feeding. Feeding makes it grow. Growing makes it faster." The holo shifted again as the human fleet commander appeared, his face lit by the red emergency lights of his ship. "Council worlds," he said, eyes filled with exhaustion and fire. "This is your last window to escape. Once the creature reaches this region of space, hyperspace lanes will collapse. If you stay, your ships will not move." Behind him, other human officers were shouting commands, alarms blaring, screens flashing warnings of gravitational instability. "We are preparing our line," the commander continued. "We will hold it as long as we can." The council leader's heart dropped. "Hold it? You can't hold it. You said it eats stars." The human commander looked directly into the camera, and for a moment the entire council felt the weight of all the lives humans had lost. "We can slow it," he said quietly. "We can buy you time." He glanced away for a second, listening to someone off-screen. When he looked back, there was something new behind his eyes, something final. "We will not survive this," he said. "But you must." The screen cut out. The old council member clutched his chest, tears forming in eyes that had seen centuries of politics but never true sacrifice like this. "What have we done?" he whispered. "What have we done to them?" But the station suddenly trembled as a new shockwave hit it. This one much stronger than before, rattling walls, shaking equipment, and knocking aides to the floor. The holomap updated again and the entire chamber gasped as one. The creature had changed direction. It was no longer moving randomly. It was no longer drifting blindly. It was coming straight toward the human fleet. Every ship, every soldier, every last human. The council leader froze as realization slammed into him. It's hunting them. The old council member wiped tears from his cracked cheeks. It senses strength. It senses defiance. Humans are the only ones who can wound it, even if only slightly. So it wants them first. Outside the station windows, the human fleet began to move, slow at first, then fast, their engines igniting in perfect formation, forming a defensive circle, their ships aligning like a wall of silent black guardians ready to face the end of all things. A new transmission opened from the human command ship. This time, the voice was not calm. It was fierce, determined. Council fleets, pull back now. Humans will engage. A trembling aquatic ambassador whispered, "Engage? They mean, fight." And the council leader whispered back, "Fight a thing that eats stars." The humans were going to war with a cosmic predator. Not for victory. Not for power. For time. For the galaxy. For every life that still had a chance to flee. The holoscreens showed human ships charging their weapons. Energy cannons that glowed blue-white. Experimental dark matter beams crackling with unstable power. Then something else. Hundreds of small pods launching from the human ships, flying toward the creature at incredible speed. The old council member squinted. Escape pods. The young aide shook his head, voice trembling. No, those are human volunteers. Pilots in personal thrusters. Offering themselves, like living bait. The council cried out in horror. Humans were preparing to sacrifice their own bodies, their own people, to distract the creature long enough for alien civilians to escape. The council leader's voice cracked. They are not even fighting to win. They are fighting to buy us seconds, the old member whispered. But something changed on the screen. Something terrifying. The creature stopped moving. Then it shifted. Then it expanded, tendrils spreading like infinite shadows, and the entire star field behind it went dark. One general screamed, "It's opening, something." And then they saw it. A pulse of black light, tearing through space like a silent scream. The human ships fired first, beams slicing through the void, slamming into the creature's outer shell. But the beams vanished upon contact, swallowed whole. Then the creature struck back. A massive wave of crushing gravity erupted from its core, curving space around it, bending the ship trajectories, pulling entire fleets closer. Human ships strained, engines roaring, struggling against the pull. Some began to break apart, shields shattering, hulls cracking. Humans screamed through the comm channels, "Stabilize the line. Hold positions. For the galaxy, hold." The council leader choked back tears as he watched the impossible unfold. Humans, fighting the end of the universe with nothing but courage, desperate engineering, and their unbreakable will to protect even the species who once tried to destroy them. The old council member pressed his forehead against the cold table, whispering brokenly, "We tried to kill them. And now they die for us." The station shook again, lights flickering. The holomap dimmed. The countdown continued. 10 hours 56 minutes and 40 seconds. The creature was approaching faster. The humans were breaking. The galaxy was trembling. And the council finally understood. Humans weren't issuing a warning. They were saying goodbye. The human fleet was already burning when Part 6 began, flames drifting through the void like dying stars as ship after ship strained against the crushing pull of the colossal creature. And every alien watching from the council station felt something inside them break as they saw humans. The same species they once called weak, reckless, dangerous. Standing alone against a force so ancient and powerful the galaxy itself seemed to tremble in fear of it. The council chamber lights flickered wildly, the floor vibrating under them from distant shockwaves as the creature fed on cosmic energy, growing faster, darker, hungrier with every passing second. The holoscreens showed the human pilots in their tiny thruster suits darting between the creature's tendrils, firing bright beams that disappeared into the void without leaving the smallest mark, and yet they continued, again and again, as if they already accepted that they would not return from this battle but refused to abandon the galaxy to its fate. The council leader gripped the railing so tightly the metal bent under his claws, his wings pressed flat against his back, tears welling in eyes that rarely felt emotion, because watching humanity fight not with hope but with duty dug deeper than any wound he had ever received. "Why won't they retreat?" he whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. The old council member answered, though his voice shook so violently every word sounded like it might fall apart. "Because if they retreat, we all die." The creature pulsed again, a wave of gravitational distortion rolling outward, bending light like shattered glass, and several human ships were ripped forward, pulled into its maw of darkness, vanishing instantly, leaving behind only echoes of their final transmissions. Human voices screamed through the speakers, "Brace! Brace! We're losing control. Sector 4 collapsing. Hold the line." Hold, then static. Just static. The council chamber filled with cries of horror and shame as another human vessel cracked in half, debris scattering like burning snowflakes. A young ambassador covered her face with trembling hands. "We caused this," she whispered. "We brought the creature to life." The old member shook his head, eyes shining with tears. "No. We brought the creature to hunger." Outside, the council's evacuation fleets were still escaping through the hyperspace lanes humans opened for them. Thousands of ships, millions of civilians. And every one of them survived only because humans were here, holding the monster back for as long as their bodies and machines could last. A new human transmission suddenly blasted onto the chamber's main screen. This time it was an older human admiral, his face streaked with sweat, blood glistening at the edge of his collar, alarms flashing violently behind him as crew members sprinted through smoke-filled corridors. He didn't speak right away. He simply looked into the camera with eyes full of grief and acceptance. "Council species," he finally said, his voice deep, tired, breaking, "your evacuation progress has reached 60%. Instead of relief, terror filled the chamber. "Only 60, someone gasped. "We need more time. The creature will reach this sector before we finish. We are too slow." The admiral nodded. "We know," he said quietly. "That's why we're staying." His voice softened, almost like a whisper. "This is our promise. And our penance." Behind him a violent explosion shook the ship, knocking the camera sideways, sparks raining from the ceiling. The admiral didn't flinch. He looked straight ahead, steady as a mountain about to fall. "Do not slow down. Do not look back. We are the wall." And the transmission ended in static. Silence returned to the chamber. A heavy, suffocating silence that wrapped around every alien like chains made of guilt. Then another shockwave hit the station, stronger than the ones before, shaking the structure, making walls crack, lights burst, and aides stumble as they grabbed onto tables for support. The holomap updated automatically, and the room erupted in screams. The creature had reached the human defensive line. The black void expanded and engulfed the first row of ships, tearing them into shimmering dust before their weapons could fire. But the humans did not scatter. They did not break formation. They closed the line. They fought harder. Hundreds of small thruster suits approached the creature, their pilot signals synchronized in a single formation. A council general gasped, "What are they doing? That's suicide." The old council member's voice trembled when he answered, "They're drawing the creature's attention away from our escaping fleets." The small human pilots lit their engines, bright blue flames cutting across the darkness, and together they created a shape, the ancient human symbol for unity. The council leader recognized it. He had seen it once, on a human archive long ago. A symbol humans carved during their darkest times. A symbol they burned into their colony walls when threatened. A symbol that meant, "We do not break." When the creature saw the glowing formation, it turned. A deep vibration rolled through the void. And it chased them. Hundreds of human pilots. Hundreds of tiny sparks of life. They fled in a curve, pulling the creature deeper into empty space, away from the council's fleeing civilians. "They are leading it away," the young ambassador whispered. The old member's voice cracked. "They are offering themselves." Suddenly several human pilots lost control as the gravitational pull increased, their suits flipping violently before they were sucked into the creature's dark tendrils. Their signals vanished instantly. The remaining pilots kept going, flying with terrifying speed, pushing their own bodies past the limits of what flesh could handle. They coughed blood. They screamed. They prayed. But they didn't stop. In the council chamber, diplomats cried openly. Some collapsed. Some screamed apologies no human could hear. One even fell to the ground, clutching his chest as he whispered, "They deserve our throne. Not us." Outside, human battleships fired every weapon they had. Plasma cannons, gravity beams, dark matter bolts. But nothing harmed the creature, only slowed it, made it pause, gave the pilots one more second to pull it away from the evacuation lanes. One more second for millions of alien civilians to live. Then something happened that made the entire council gasp. The creature pulsed again, but this time its darkness expanded in a shockwave far more violent than before. Human pilots scattered. Human ships flipped. Several vessels were pulled into the void and crushed. The council leader grabbed the edge of the screen, yelling, "Stop! Pull back! Humans, pull back!" But no human could hear him, and even if they could, they wouldn't have obeyed. The old council member whispered with grief shaking his lips, "They are not fighting for victory," his voice cracked. "They are fighting for us." The holomap updated again, showing the creature accelerating toward the human flagships. The human ships turned, forming a shield wall around their command vessel. A suicide wall. The creature roared, no sound, only vibration. A cosmic howl. And then, the screen flickered violently as a human ship exploded, flames bursting through the void like a dying sun. The council chamber trembled. The old member covered his face. The young ambassador sobbed. The council leader whispered a sentence he never imagined saying, "If humans die, the galaxy dies with them." The lights in the chamber flickered again. The holomap glitched. And through the distortion, a new shape appeared. A massive one. Larger than any human ship. Larger than any council ship. Something rising. Something human. Something ancient. The council gasped. The ambassador screamed, "What is that?" And the old council member whispered with trembling awe, "The humans didn't send their full force yet." The creature turned its attention. The stars warped. The void shivered. And the true human weapon finally awakened. The moment the enormous human structure began rising on the holoscreen, the entire council chamber fell into a silence so deep it felt like the galaxy itself had stopped breathing, because what unfolded before their eyes did not look like a ship or a station or any machine ever built by mortal hands. It looked like a sleeping titan made of metal, a colossal ancient warform drifting upward from the shadows behind the human lines, its surface covered with scars older than most civilizations, its hull etched with glowing symbols that pulsed slowly like the heartbeat of something that had waited centuries for this exact moment. The creature reacted immediately, its tendrils pausing mid-motion, turning toward the rising object with a sudden, eerie awareness, as if recognizing a rival or remembering a threat it once encountered in a forgotten age. The council chamber trembled again as the holoscreens struggled to focus on the massive shape. Lights flickered. Aides stumbled. Several diplomats backed away as if the titan could reach through the screen and swallow them. The council leader's wings curled tight, his voice barely a whisper. "What is that?" No one answered. Not at first. Not until the old council member, eyes wide with awe and grief, stepped closer to the holoscreen, his voice trembling as he spoke words he barely believed. "The humans built that, long ago." The room turned to him in shock. "Built?" a diplomat cried. "No species could build something so large." But the old member shook his head slowly. Humans were not always small. They were not always fragile. They learned from their suffering. They learned from the dark regions they hid in. They built things not for conquest, but for survival. Outside the station windows, the human titan continued to awaken. Panels unfolded like massive wings. Energy lines crawled across its body like rivers of glowing starlight. It dwarfed every human ship by miles. It dwarfed council fleets by entire civilizations. And yet, The creature still loomed larger. The creature pulsed with hunger. And the Titan answered with ancient wrath. A human transmission cracked through the static. The same old admiral from earlier. But now his face glowed with the silver-blue light of the Titan's activation. "Council species," he said, voice stronger now, filled with a grim fire. "You are witnessing the Epsilon-class Guardian, humanity's last resort. A weapon we never wanted to use. One we built only because we knew this day might come." The chamber froze. A trembling ambassador whispered, "Will it defeat the creature?" The admiral exhaled slowly. No silence cut through the room. The old member swallowed. "Then why reveal it?" The admiral turned toward the glowing panels behind him, each one humming with enough energy to tear apart continents. "Because it can hurt it." The entire chamber gasped. The admiral continued. "The Guardian cannot kill the Star Eater. But it can wound it. Slow it. Push it back. Buy you more time." A younger council member trembled. "And what will it cost?" The admiral closed his eyes. "Everything." The screen flickered. Behind him, the Guardian's massive core ignited, lighting up the void with a brilliant white fire that consumed everything in its path. Human ships scattered, engines flaring as they positioned themselves around the Titan, forming a circle of protection as the creature roared, dark tendrils stretching, curling, recoiling. The Star Eater recognized the threat now. It surged forward, swallowing light, bending space, the very stars around it trembling like prey sensing a predator far worse than itself. The council chamber shook violently as gravitational waves hit the station. Several diplomats fell to the floor. The holomap glitched, then returned. The creature was now charging straight at the Guardian. A massive wave of shadow crashed toward it, ripping through smaller human vessels caught in the path. Human pilots screamed through the comms, "We're losing fighters, hull breach, multiple decks collapsing, brace for impact," then silence. The council leader covered his mouth, tears forming despite himself. "How many more must die?" The old member's voice trembled. "All of them." The creature lunged. The Guardian moved. The Titan raised its arms, two colossal structures glowing with blue-white molten energy, forming a barrier of light so bright the holoscreen dimmed automatically. The moment the creature's shadow collided with the Guardian's shield, the entire starfield rippled like water struck by a falling moon. A shockwave blasted through the region, flipping ships, distorting light, making space itself scream. The council chamber walls groaned, metal twisting as the shockwave reached them. Aids were thrown to the ground. Lights exploded overhead. Sparks rained from the ceiling. But through the chaos, they watched. They couldn't look away. The Guardian held. The creature pressed harder. The void bent. The glowing shield cracked. Human ships poured fire into the creature's tendrils, firing beams so powerful the council's screens glitched just trying to display them. The creature recoiled, just for an instant, its outer shell trembling, its form flickering like a flame struck by wind. The entire council chamber gasped. "It hurt it," someone cried. "The humans wounded it." But the old member whispered the truth. "Barely." The creature roared again. No sound, only vibration. Its entire body shifting, reshaping, growing larger. The council leader felt their collective hope break. "It's adapting." The Guardian responded with another blast. A beam of concentrated starfire that stabbed through the void, striking the creature directly in its core. The creature convulsed. The chamber erupted in shock. They did it. They're pushing it back. Humans are, but hope died as quickly as it appeared. The creature swallowed the beam. Completely. The Guardian dimmed, power draining from its core. The Admiral appeared on a secondary screen, breathing hard, sweat dripping, alarms flashing behind him. Guardian systems failing, reactor destabilizing, hold formation. He looked directly into the camera. Into them. Through them. Run. The word rolled through the chamber like a death sentence. The ambassador of the feathered species sobbed. "We can't leave them." "We must," the council leader shouted, voice breaking in a way no one had ever heard. "Look at them. They are fighting to buy us time." The creature launched a tendril the size of a moon toward the Guardian. It struck. The Guardian's left flank shattered. An explosion so massive the holoscreen went white for several seconds. When the screen returned, the Council's breath caught. Half the Titan was gone. The energy core flickered. Human ships fled outward, their engines failing one by one as gravitational distortion tore them apart. The creature surged forward, sensing the weakness. The Guardian lifted its remaining arm, slow, shaking, sparks raining off its surface. The Admiral's voice whispered through static, broken but steady. "This is humanity's last stand." The final beam fired. A desperate, blinding burst. It slammed into the creature's core. The creature jerked backward, just barely, just enough to push it off course. Just enough for the evacuation fleets to complete their jump. Just enough for the galaxy to live another hour. Then the Guardian's core overloaded. A white explosion swallowed the Titan. The screen went dark. All human signals vanished. Every human ship blinked off the map at once. The Council chamber fell silent. No tears. No screams. No words. Just silence. Then the holomap updated. The creature recovered. It turned. Slowly. And began moving toward the next cluster of stars. The old Council member sank to his knees. "They died," he whispered, voice hollow. "Every human died." The Council leader shook, wings trembling uncontrollably. "No," he whispered, refusing to believe. "Humans don't vanish like this. Not completely." The holomap flickered again. A faint signal appeared. One human transmission. Weak. Broken. A lone voice whispering through static. "We're not done." Yet, the chamber gasped. Humanity was still alive. Somewhere. Somehow. And the galaxy understood. The real battle hadn't even begun. The chamber had barely recovered from the shock of the Guardian's destruction when the faint human signal appeared on the holoscreen, flickering like the last spark of a dying fire. And for a moment no one breathed as the static shaped itself into a voice that sounded broken, exhausted, but still carrying the unmistakable human iron that refused to die even when the universe itself tried to bury it. The Council leader leaned forward slowly, his wings trembling, his claws digging into the railing as if holding onto the edge of reality. Is someone alive?" he whispered, voice shaking with equal parts hope and dread because nothing terrified him more than the idea of humans being gone forever, and nothing terrified him more than the idea of humans still fighting. The signal grew louder, clearing just enough for a fragmented image to appear. A dark human cockpit. Sparks. Smoke. A shattered visor. A single surviving pilot slumped in a chair, one eye swollen shut. The other staring into the screen with a look that was not fear, not rage, but something deeper and more dangerous, resolve carved from pain. "This is Captain Miles of the 7th Human Line," his voice rasped, each word sounding like it was dragged out of a collapsing soul. "If you can hear us, we're initiating Phase 0. The Council chamber erupted with confused shouts. "Phase 0. What does that mean? Is there another weapon?" The old Council member staggered toward the screen, his voice barely a whisper. "Phase 0 was never mentioned in any intelligence file. What are they doing?" The human pilot coughed blood, wiped it from his chin with a shaking hand, and forced a grim smile. "The Guardian was never our final weapon, just our shield." The Council leader felt his heart drop. "Shield? Then what is the sword?" The holoscreen erupted into static again, then flashed to a different angle, an external view from the pilot's broken ship. Far behind the wreckage of the Guardian, hidden until now behind a cluster of shattered asteroids and dust clouds, a new structure began to reveal itself. Something huge. Something unnatural. Something the galaxy had never seen before, and perhaps was never meant to see. At first it looked like a broken moon. Then the dust drifted away, and the chamber gasped in one collective breath of disbelief so sharp it felt like their chests cracked. It wasn't a moon. It wasn't a station. It wasn't even a ship. It was something else entirely. A colossal ring, stretching thousands of kilometers in diameter, rotating slowly as ancient human runes lit up along its inner rim. The chamber vibrated as the runes activated one after another, glowing brighter and brighter, creating a pattern that made even the bravest ambassadors step back in awe. The old council member collapsed into a chair, clutching his chest. No, they didn't. The council leader turned to him sharply. You know what this is. The old member's voice was barely audible. It's the last project humans began during the war 50 years ago, before we attacked them. Before they disappeared, he swallowed hard, tears rising. A stellar engine gateway. An artificial breach into the heart of a star. A weapon capable of burning a hole through reality itself. The chamber erupted into panicked cries. That's impossible. It would destroy everything. Humans are insane. But the old member whispered the truth through shaking breath. They didn't finish it then, but it looks like they finished it now. The holoscreen switched again to the surviving human captain, his voice trembling but determined. We hoped we would never use this, but the Guardian bought us enough time. He inhaled weakly. We're opening the star core gate. Every alien froze. The council leader felt his body go numb. Star core gate. The pilot nodded painfully. The creature feeds on stars, so we're going to feed it something else. He coughed again, gasping for breath. A star's heart turned inside out. The council screamed. The chamber erupted. They will destabilize the entire region. Hyperspace will collapse. This will destroy every system nearby. The human pilot's voice cracked as he whispered the quiet truth that silenced the room. We know. Tears finally spilled from the old council member's eyes. They're sacrificing entire sectors just to trap the creature. The human pilot leaned back, eyes closing for a moment, as if feeling the weight of every soul lost, every decision made, every death waiting. When he opened them again, they were glowing faintly from radiation exposure. Yet his voice held steady. Council species, continue evacuation, do not turn back. The council leader shouted at the screen, desperate and terrified. You can't activate that weapon. The blast radius will destroy hundreds of worlds. Those worlds are already lost, the human whispered. We're just choosing how they end. The chamber fell into a suffocating silence as the pilot turned his broken camera toward the star core gate. The ring was spinning faster now, energy building in its center like a forming sun. But instead of gold or white, it burned with a violent crimson glow, an inverted star, a collapsing heart, a cosmic wound in space itself. The creature must have sensed the energy because it stopped moving toward the remaining human fighters. It shifted in the void. Its massive tendrils twisted, turning toward the gate with a sudden frantic hunger. The holoscreen struggled to display its full size as it lunged forward, tearing through space in a blur of shadow and gravity. It's coming, whispered a trembling diplomat. It wants the gate. The human captain's voice grew faint. Good, we need it. Close enough. Human ships rallied, engines flaring one last time as they fired everything they had, trying to pull the creature closer to the gate, even if it meant flying into its tendrils. Ships disintegrated. Pilots screamed. But they kept fighting. Every second bought mattered. Every heartbeat mattered. Every sacrifice mattered. The gate reached full charge. A glowing sphere formed at its center, a miniature star pulled inside out, burning with impossible radiation, its light warping time and bending gravity. The void collapsed around it. The creature lunged. The captain's voice returned, barely a whisper. For humanity, the gate exploded. A silent flash. A wave of white fire. The creature roared, convulsing as its entire form twisted violently, tendrils retracting, its core shattering in unearthly agony. The shockwave tore across space, ripping asteroids apart, breaking distant moons, distorting hyperspace lanes for light years. The council station rocked violently, nearly throwing everyone off their feet as lights exploded and structural alarms blared. Then, silence. The holoscreen dimmed. The darkness where the creature had been was empty. Nothing moved. No tendrils. No void. No shadow. Just quiet. Stillness. Cosmic emptiness. Every alien stared at the screen, hardly believing what they were seeing. It's gone, someone whispered. They destroyed it. Humans saved the galaxy. The council leader collapsed into his seat, wings dropping, tears falling freely. At what cost? But before relief could settle, before grief could even land, the holoscreen blinked. One last human signal. Weak. Flickering. A whisper. If you can hear us, the surviving pilot breathed. The gate didn't destroy it. The chamber froze. The pilot coughed violently. It tore it apart, but it's reforming, the council gasped. Reforming. It learns, the pilot whispered. It evolves, his voice broke completely. And next time, it won't chase stars, silence stretched. His final words chilled every soul who heard them. It will chase life. The signal died. Completely. The holoscreen went black. The chamber filled with terrified silence. The old council member whispered one last trembling truth as the countdown device hit 1 second. The humans didn't defeat it. The final second blinked. Midnight. They only woke its true form. And the galaxy realized, humanity's sacrifice was only the beginning of the real war.